Welcome to my PowerPoint presentation on why Ravenous is an underwhelming perk in Dead by Daylight. Each time you hook a survivor for the first time, Ravenous gains 1 token. Upon gaining 4 tokens, all survivors scream, revealing their location, and become exposed for up to 60 seconds. Ravenous is a deceptively simple perk, and honestly not even a bad one at that. Hook each survivor once and gain a decent benefit. However, the investment is generally larger than the payoff and lacks the same consistency other perks offer. The first concern is the need to hook each survivor once to activate the perk. This is going to be much easier to achieve with a high tier killer, while a low tier killer will struggle more to acquire value. And depending on survivor playstyle, you may end up with one survivor being particularly ratty, so you aren't able to secure the last token until it's too late in the match to make a difference. Another troublesome point is that the perk only activates once in the entire trial. Consistency is a huge factor for perk viability, not only in the actual mechanical use of the perk, but in game feel for the player. A perk that can only work once per trial is going to be a turn-off for most players unless the effect is game-changing. And unfortunately, the effect can be highly volatile in whether or not it actually is a game changer. There are several factors that influence how effective Ravenous is, including your distance to the survivors upon activation, your killer's mobility, and whether the survivor was already injured. To top it off, Vigil is a very common perk which unconditionally cuts the maximum duration of Ravenous down to about 36 seconds, nearly half the original duration. Additionally, there are means to suppress your screams, potentially voiding your ability to find the survivors. Overall, this perk is somewhat win-more in its design and exemplifies the power difference between high-tier and low-tier killers. Unfortunately, I do think the inherent design of Ravenous is one that firmly reflects tier differences, and there's little that can be done about that, but that is a separate issue. I opted to focus on Ravenous's other pain points to create something a little more enticing. Rather than activating once per trial, Ravenous can now activate up to 4 times per trial, once per unique survivor. This is a massive buff, so I made 3 other tweaks to accommodate this change. For one, I turned Ravenous into a Scorch Hook perk. This makes it a little harder for the killer to activate, but also does enable some tactical play, such as saving a survivor's token for their second hook when the next chase is closer by. Secondly, I reduced the duration of each activation from 60 seconds down to 45 seconds. This hopefully makes it a little less oppressive now that it activates 4 times, but it still works out to be triple the amount of time that survivors are exposed for. Lastly, survivors now only scream while they are within the terror radius. This does dampen the combination of information and the exposed status, but I do find this to also be a reconciliation of tier differences. If a survivor screams, they are nearby, meaning the mobility of a killer is going to make a smaller difference, as well as the most mobile killers in the game having a hard cap on how far the information goes. This does negatively impact killers with teleports, quasi-teleports, or reduced terror radii like the Nightmare or the Xenomorph, but I'm not a miracle worker, and even if I was, I certainly wouldn't be doing it for the remake version of Freddy Krueger. Maybe for Xenomorph though. Thanks for watching, leave a like, and put your thoughts in the comments below.